And if if you stumble by, that's your problem. But let's go ahead and we'll start taking some calls real quick. We've got Alex in Victorville, California. How are you?
Good, Pete. How are you?
I'm great, thanks.
Excellent. Yeah, I called in. I've been actually not challenged, but people have been asking me to call in for over a year now. And finally, I'm like, all right, let me call these guys up, give them a shout out. And so, I don't know if you guys have time, if you want to hear my story or you want to ask me questions. I don't know the, method you guys use.
Well, normally I'd love to ask, first of all, I have no idea what you believe, but the bigger issue is why. But it said here that you actually had a question about, I don't know, our take on the Bible or something.
Basically, what happened with me is from the age of 18, I started, called myself a Christian. I went to the Marine Corps boot camp. I declared myself a Christian, went to church there. And then around the age of 23, I came to the conclusion that, you know what, maybe I'm just freaking imagining everything. I don't know. I just started it was like a hardcore reality check. What am I doing here? What's my actual proof? What's my evidence here? Is it just feeling something in my heart? So I just started reading things in the Bible. I'm like, well, that's not true, and that's not. Kind of like that woman where she said she had questions that they couldn't answer. Mm-hmm. I had those questions, and I started asking them, and they're like, well, you don't have any faith. It was almost scary at what kind of a similar situation it was for me to the past caller. So then I came to a conclusion. I'm like, okay, I'm about to just turn the other way here. But before I do, let me just make sure I've been thorough. And what I mean by that is, I'm like, okay, I'm going to give it one more shot. To me, the New Testament is 195 pages. It's not that long, I figured. I go, let me just read it one more time. But this time I decided, let me do something a little bit differently. Let me actually go for some solitude. Let me not love anything in the world. I'm not saying anything is evil. I can argue and say anything is good and everything is evil at the same time, depending on how the person does it and the circumstances that they, that get them to do certain action. So with me, I started reading Matthew, Luke, all the Gospels again, Acts, Hebrews. I started getting through it, but this time I started cutting out worldly media. I started cutting out anything of the world, to tell you the truth. I just started shutting it off just for the time I read it, because I figured it said it's a narrow path. Jesus said, follow me. And the first thing he did when he got the Holy Spirit was head into that desert for 40 days straight. Now, that's a lot to ask for. I didn't do that. But the point of it is seeking solitude. I find myself being put...
Are you saying that that you discovered something that's true that way, that can only be discovered that way?
I'm about to get there. So I've probably read about half the gospel at this point again, and I'm roughly in the book of Hebrews. Every day what I would do is I would actually just drop down on my face for an hour and just be quiet. Just bow and just be silent in front of it. So I did that every day, an hour or two. And I kind of made it like boot camp on myself. I went back to that mentality. I'm like, okay, but what was I asking for? At this point, I was only asking for two things. I said, God, if you want this to work, my quote was, I'm not going to go to church all my life, hoping that when I die, I made the right call. That's just not going to work. If this is going to work, you have to be real to me like you were to Adam. That's what I want. I want you to be as real to me as you were to Adam. And I want what it said in John 17. Father, let them be one. Just as you are in me and I am in you, let them be one with us. So that's the second thing I wrote down on a piece of paper. I go, this is what I'm asking for, God. If you're real, I don't know if you're real, you're hidden from me. That's for sure. So I'm going to give you this benefit of the doubt and say, maybe you're real. But if you're real, I need you to manifest yourself like it says in John 14:21.
Sure. Did that happen?
Yes, it did happen. It happened roughly on the 27th day of asking. And I planned a 40-day thing with him.
Okay.
But I cut everything out for 40 days, including sexual temptation. So...
Okay.
And what I mean by it happened was 26 days. I'm asking for the exact same thing. God seems a billion miles away, man. And that morning, man, I woke up and...
Clearly the new soundboard hasn't fixed everything.
I had a friend who came and slept over. Actually, my mom was getting paranoid, so invited my best friend to sleep over without asking me because I hadn't seen anyone. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing at all. It had nothing to do with anyone.
So Alex,
yeah.
How did God manifest himself to you?
That first morning, like I said, I woke up, I just felt like my friend had either drugged me or I was dreaming. Because what I was feeling, words couldn't describe. Forget what I was feeling. It was just pure bliss and ecstasy. That night, I had a dream of Christ.
So hang on, you know? Alex. So I asked how God manifested, and you said that you woke up in ecstasy.
Yes.
And what makes you think that's a manifestation of God?
That's a beautiful question. It was when honestly, and I know you're going to not believe this, and I'm not really concerned about being believed, but it's the truth. Now, when I did wake up in that bliss that first night, I had one dream. That could have been a coincidence, but I had one dream of Jesus walking down my street, 50 feet tall, releasing 7 stars from his right hand, lighting up my street. Then I would read the next day about Jesus being the one who held the 7 stars. I had never heard that before. But then the next day after that, I had another vision. This time I had it wide awake. I jumped into back book of Daniel, and I'm reading the book of Daniel, and I can't move all of a sudden. I just can't. I'm telling you, it was like, I just can't move, and all of a sudden my eyes are wide open. I'm in my room, and I literally see like a light, kind of like a star, what stars look like, and it kind of opened up, man, and like a display, bro. And I was shown a vision. I've seen Christ that way in the military. I saw angels that day at my house. A couple of weeks later, I would actually see Jesus, like his glorified, like the one John saw in Revelation.
Sure,
it was like a fire burning, wide awake.
So Alex, so you had these experiences. I still don't understand how you know that this was God.
Here's how I know that this was God. Because since then, I started preaching right away when that happened to me, the year 2000. I stopped. I completely stopped because no one believed me. I told God, you know what? I love what you've given me, but I'm going to go live my life. And I went and I lived my life for like 8, 9 years, up until 2.5 years ago. I started 9 YouTube channels, and I shot out roughly about, in the last 3 years, 200,000 messages. Now, from those 200,000 people, there was hundreds of people, and I can even send you to people now that have done this. There were previous atheists, bipolar, name it, from all walks of life, who have done this routine. And within the first 3 to 7 days, they start seeing dreams from God about the living water.
Yeah.
Of what it's going to feel like when they receive it. Personalized messages to them. Even if they stop searching, the dreams keep coming.
Alex, you haven't gotten anywhere near telling me how you know this is God.
People fear solitude. Everyone is codependent on stimuli from the world to make themselves happy, from music to movies. People can't be still anymore.
Yes, and so you cut yourself off from all that, and you had some experience. Now, how do you know that it's God?
I'm still having it 14 years later, every night.
Maybe you should see somebody about that.
But how about all the other people who go through the exact same thing? How about my tears that I had cried?
Okay,
and then they had turned into white bread that was sweet like honey a month later. I found them again.
Now, Alex, now I think you're not for real.
Okay, now I don't understand why you say that. God is supernatural. Why don't they expect miracles? That's what the problem is.
Well,
no one
we don't. Hang on. I'm going to put you on hold. I'm not hanging up. I'm trying to make use of the phone system so that I don't just start throwing things. When you say that you cried tears that turned into bread, that's a claim about the real world. It would certainly be a manifestation. It would certainly be a miracle. Exactly how did you verify this? Do you have, any sort of investigation?
Listen, at the time, my mom was still living, but now she passed away. Anyway, so what happened was I was like late at night. I'm like, what is this? I started I'm like, why are these pages like this? And I just started scraping it off. Yeah, I got a pile like a quarter size, or maybe a nickel size, but kind of high. I ate like 3/4 of it, and it was amazing. And then I saved some to show my mom, and then she came the next day. I'm like, oh, my God, what is this? She's like, what are you talking about? And then I came to shore, and it turned brown, and it was bitter and nasty. It would completely change form the next day, and I was like, what the hell happened? I would find out 4 months later, man, it goes bad overnight and spoiled.
You have anything that you wanted to ask real quick?
Sure. I have no words. I have no words.
So Alex,
Alex, are much more crazier than that. You definitely think I'm insane. But the bottom line is, if somebody, like I told God, I want Jesus to be as real to me as you were to Adam, and I want my perception fixed.
Yeah, I'm pretty
So
sure
I
that
told him, and that's what he did.
Alex, I'm pretty sure that having feelings of ecstasy and crying tears of bread does not make God as real to you as he supposedly was to Adam, who he walked with in the garden. Big difference
right,
there.
I do understand that, and I'm telling you that not just his presence, but I feel like we're one. I feel like...
Yeah, and you know what, Alex?
What happened? There's like a helmet.
Alex?
Both of us wore it, and the switch went on, and we became one.
Yeah, and Alex, not only should nobody else accept that something is true just because you feel like you're one, but you shouldn't either. It's not rational to just go with, hey, I feel like this is true, therefore it's true.
I understand that point. That's why I didn't seek God in the church, because it made no sense to me.
Yeah, I don't...
Like, almost like the Native Americans go on a vision quest when they're young. The Aborigines did the same. That solitude, that going away and being somber and completely disconnected is a terribly lonely feeling. And no one wants to go through that. If you even give God 3 days...
I tell you what, let me for
real
crying out loud, I'm going to put you on hold for just a second. Let me ask you this way.
Sure.
So, you're pretty much an advocate that the Bible is generally true, correct?
I'm an advocate of not accepting that, though. I swear. If I tell people, if you believe in God going into this, you're a liar.
Okay, great. But do you believe do you believe the Bible gives an accurate picture of the God that you think is real?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and do you think that this is a loving God who wants people to know him?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so why on earth would a loving God who wants people to know him hide away and make people starve themselves and deprive themselves of sensory input for 27 days and then have them cry tears of bread, none of which can be verified, and then their only appeal to this is, hey, I feel like we're one? Why would any loving God work that way? Why aren't you worthy of the same Damascus Road experience that Saul had?
Who says I haven't? I'm not. I could see. I could tell you it came to me.
If you had an experience like that, and instead you started with, I felt a feeling of ecstasy and cried tears of bread, you started with the wrong story.
That's what it says will happen first in John. Again, it says, and rivers of living water will burst out from your belly. That's what made it important to me. I was into Bruce Lee. I was into meditation.
Hey, Alex.
Buddhism.
Alex, I know we have a 2-hour show today, but we're full of callers, and I'm going to move on.
I understand. Is there any way I can personally email you and discuss you? Because I tried. No one messaged me back. I understand. You guys are booked.
Sure. You can email tv@atheist-community.org.
Well, should I put in the subject line to make sure you get it?
Oh, AETV or NPR. Thanks so much for suggesting that. It gets right past the spam.
Can you tell me again what to write in the subject line?
AETV.
AETV. Got it. Thanks again, and have a blessed day. All you guys are very loving. Some of the best people I've met have been atheists, to tell you the truth.
Me too.
Me too. Me too.
All right.